For nearly 10 years, the most hunted man on Earth disappeared without using a phone, sending an email, or showing the outside world his face. Then, the CIA found a strange house in Pakistan. They could not see the top-floor resident, intercept his voice, or prove Osama bin Laden was inside. Yet on May 1, 2011, President Barack Obama sent helicopters across the border, without warning Pakistan, on what he reportedly considered a 50-50 chance. One aircraft would crash land, gunfire would erupt, and before the night ended, the mystery occupant would be dead. But the mission did not begin with bin Laden, it began with the man who carried his messages. Osama bin Laden founded Al-Qaeda in 1988 and turned it into a global terrorist network. Under his leadership, Al-Qaeda attacked American embassies in East Africa, struck the USS Cole, and carried out the September 11th attacks, killing nearly 3,000 people. When the United States invaded Afghanistan in 2001, bin Laden escaped across the border into Pakistan. Then he seemed to vanish. The disappearance was deliberate. Bin Laden understood that modern intelligence hunted electronic signals. A phone call could reveal a location, an email could expose a network. So he abandoned direct electronic communication and relied on trusted couriers carrying verbal messages and handwritten letters. That protected him from satellites and surveillance. But it also created a weakness. Because if the CIA could not follow bin Laden, it could follow someone who had to reach him. Across years of interviews, captured Al-Qaeda members repeatedly mentioned one courier by a kunya, an operational nickname, Abu Ahmad al-Kuwaiti. Some detainees described him as close to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the architect of 9/11. Others connected him to Abu Faraj al-Libi, another senior Al-Qaeda figure. Strangely, important prisoners minimized the courier's role or claimed he was dead. To CIA analysts, those denials looked less like reassurance and more like protection. This part of the story later became politically explosive. Some prisoners had been subjected to the CIA's coercive enhanced interrogation program. Defenders of that program claimed it helped reveal the courier. But a later Senate investigation found that much of the important information was obtained before or independently of those methods, and that several detainees gave false or misleading answers. So there was no magical confession that delivered bin Laden's address. There were fragments, a nickname, family details, language patterns, old associations, and years of signals intelligence and human reporting. By 2007, the CIA believed it had uncovered the courier's real identity. By 2009, analysts had narrowed his activity to parts of Pakistan. Then, in 2010, surveillance tracked him to a property in Abbottabad, and the building made no sense. Abbottabad was not a remote cave complex. It was a comfortable garrison city about 35 miles north of Islamabad, and the compound stood not far from Pakistan's premier military academy. The property was roughly 8 times larger than nearby homes. Walls between 12 and 18 feet high were topped with barbed wire. 2 gates restricted access. The upper balcony had its own privacy wall. There were few outward-facing windows. But the strangest evidence was what the house did not have. No telephone line, no internet connection. Residents burned their rubbish instead of leaving it for collection. The 2 brothers officially associated with the property had no obvious income capable of paying for it. And inside lived a 3rd family whose members almost never appeared outside. From overhead surveillance, analysts occasionally saw a tall man walking back and forth inside the courtyard. They called him the Pacer. Cameras never captured his face, and height estimates were too imprecise to identify him. The hunt was CIA-led, but the NSA, NGA, and other agencies contributed signals, imagery, and analysis. Teams studied routines, counted residents, and searched for alternative explanations. Analysts even red-teamed their own theory, trying to prove that the hidden person could be someone other than bin Laden. They failed to find a better candidate. Still, the evidence remained circumstantial. The CIA had probably found an important Al-Qaeda hideout. It had not proven that it had found bin Laden. President Obama began receiving briefings on the compound in 2010. His advisors considered several options. They could wait and gather more intelligence, but the courier might discover the surveillance and move the hidden family. They could bomb the compound, but civilians could be killed, the evidence inside would be destroyed, and the United States might never prove bin Laden had been there. Or they could raid it. A ground assault offered identification, possible capture, and access to computers and documents. But it also risked American lives, a confrontation with Pakistani forces, and a diplomatic disaster if the target was not bin Laden. The assault force rehearsed on full-scale compound replicas, while planners prepared for almost every outcome: capture, death, helicopter failure, civilian resistance, and Pakistani intervention. On April 29th, Obama authorized the raid. Pakistan was not informed in advance in order to preserve operational security. Its code name was Operation Neptune Spear. Late on May 1st in Washington, early May 2nd in Pakistan, 2 modified helicopters carried Navy special operators from SEAL Team 6 toward Abbottabad. A larger backup force waited nearby. Almost immediately, the plan broke. While descending into the compound, one helicopter made a hard landing inside the walls. No American was killed, but the team had lost an aircraft in hostile territory before reaching the main house. They continued. One group cleared a separate building. Another entered the main residence and moved upward, floor by floor. Gunfire broke out. 2 couriers, one courier's wife, and one of bin Laden's adult sons were killed during the operation. Other women and children were secured. On the upper floor, the team found the tall man. Early government accounts implied bin Laden was armed and claimed that a wife had shielded him. Those details were later corrected. The White House said bin Laden was unarmed when the assault team entered his room. Officials maintained that he resisted, although they never publicly explained the complete final sequence. The force had prepared to accept a surrender if one became possible. It did not happen. Osama bin Laden was shot and killed. The Americans immediately began collecting computers, storage devices, papers, and handwritten material. They moved surviving non-combatants away from the damaged helicopter, destroyed the aircraft to protect its classified technology, and departed using the remaining helicopter and a backup. The entire assault lasted approximately 40 minutes. Killing the target was not enough. The United States had to prove his identity. People inside the compound identified him. Specialists compared facial features, and DNA was tested against samples connected to bin Laden's family. The White House said the combined methods established his identity beyond doubt. His body was flown to the aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson. According to the official account, it was washed, wrapped in a white sheet, placed in a weighted bag, and buried at sea after religious remarks were translated into Arabic. The burial occurred within 24 hours in an effort to follow Islamic practice. The government withheld photographs of the body, arguing that graphic images could become extremist propaganda. The material taken from Abbottabad showed that bin Laden had not become an irrelevant hermit. He still shaped al-Qaeda's strategy, messaging, and plans, even while communicating at the speed of a courier. The location left an enduring question. How could the world's most wanted terrorist live for years in a Pakistani military town without official protection? The United States produced no public proof that Pakistan's senior leadership knew. Pakistan's own inquiry blamed collective failure and incompetence, while leaving open the possibility of help from individuals. Pakistan condemned the unilateral raid as a violation of its sovereignty. Neptune Spear did not destroy al-Qaeda, but it removed its founder, exposed his support network, and delivered an enormous intelligence archive. And the hunt revealed how intelligence actually works. Bin Laden was not found by one confession, one satellite photograph, or one brilliant spy. He was found through fragments, a false name, guarded answers, a courier's movements, a hidden family, and a house defined by absence. No phone, no internet, no collected rubbish, and no visible income. The raid lasted about 40 minutes. Finding the door took nearly a decade. The CIA's official history describes the courier trail, discovery of the Abbottabad compound, its unusual security features, the April 29th authorization, and the conclusion that bin Laden remained an active al-Qaeda leader.